Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the My Brother's Keeper television show where we ignite a spirit of excellence through mentoring, modeling, and multiplying. I'm thrilled to have you join us on this Tony the Tiger Terrific Tuesday. It's simply great. Before we dive into today's empowering content, here are a few quick housekeeping rules. If you'd like to join in the conversation, our call-in number is 301-429-9247 or 301 429 WBGR. Don't forget to like and share this broadcast with your network. And for even more inspiring content, head on over to My Brother's Keeper YouTube channel where you can like and subscribe to stay updated on all of our latest episodes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's make today's show one to remember. Are you registered to vote? Are you registered to vote? Vote.org with 56 days until vote November 5th, 2024. All right, choosing progress again over regression. Choosing progress over regression. Unapologetically sorry, but not sorry. The urgency of voting for Kamala Harris as we approach the November 5th, 2024 election, the stakes could not be higher. Check this out, could not be higher. With 468 congressional seats on the ballot, 34 to 35, a third of the Senate seats, and all 435 House of Representative seats are open. Our nation stands at a critical juncture. This election is not merely about filling seats, it's about deciding the trajectory of our country for generations to come. Historically, representation in Congress has lacked diversity. To date, only 12 African Americans have served in the U.S. Senate, highlighting the ongoing need for more inclusive representation. The decisions made in this election will either push us closer to the ideal of a government that truly represents all of its peoples or pull shadows of exclusion and inequality. For returning citizens and their families, the right to vote is a hard-won victory. However, this right is not universally accessible across all states. The varying laws emphasize the importance of understanding your specific voting rights and ensuring your voice is heard. Information on voting rights can be found at vote.org, where you can learn about the regulations in your state, including states like Vermont and Idaho that allow individuals to vote even while serving time. This election is more than a choice between two candidates. It's a choice between two visions for America. Vice President Kamala Harris represents a future of progress, inclusivity, and resilience. Her career reflects a commitment to justice and the protection of civil rights, especially for those who have been historically marginalized. As a woman of color, Harris understands firsthand the challenges of systemic discrimination. Yet her rise to the vice presidency is a testament to her strength, determination, and unwavering commitment to the principles of equality and justice. Voting for Harris is a vote for a leader who not only understands the complexities of our lives, but is also dedicated to fighting for the dignity and rights of every citizen. In stark contrast, Donald Trump's legacy is one of division and regression. His tenure as president was marked by actions that threatened the very fabric of our democracy. His support for Project 2025, a plan with regressive policies on education, the environment, and immigration, poses a direct threat to the progress we've made over the past few decades. Project 2025 seeks to undo essential protections and reforms favoring the wealthy and powerful at the expense of working class Americans and marginalized communities. Under this plan, public education could suffer, healthcare could become inaccessible to millions, and environmental safeguards could be dismantled. Okay, now we have the debate tonight, and so it's going to be a good debate. I'm predicting that it's going to pretty much put a nail in the coffin And as we are able to see the two candidates come forth. But I just wanted to share with you what to look for during the debate tonight. As you watch the debate between Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Donald Trump, pay close attention to the following: Kamala Harris' vision. Look for her plans to continue building a more inclusive and just society. Listen for her strategies to protect voting rights, expand healthcare access, and address systemic inequalities. Trump's record. Notice how he defends his support for policies that have historically benefited the few at the expense of the many. Watch how he justifies Project 2025 and consider the implications of such a plan on our nation's future. The character and leadership. Consider the candidates' demeanor, their respect for democratic norms, and their ability to unite rather than divide. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. famously stated, the time is always right to do what is right. The 2024 election is a defining moment again for our nation. Voting is not just a right, it is a responsibility. It is the most powerful tool we have to shape our collective future. By voting for Vice President Kamala Harris, we choose to move forward toward a future that embraces progress, equity, and justice for all. Together, we can reject the politics of division and regression. Together, we can ensure that America remains a beacon of hope and opportunity for every citizen. This is why we must vote. This is why we must choose Vice President Kamala Harris. Let's move forward, not backward, and continue building a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive and not merely survive. Hashtag vote. Hashtag progression, not regression. Hashtag Kamala Harris 2024. Hashtag vote.org. All right. It's going down at 8 o'clock. I'm going to check with our producer to see if we can stand by and we can even broadcast and have the debate going, and we can even have comments to come in. I'll see if he will allow that to happen if he's up for the challenge, okay? So, excuse me, now it's time for our African American Person of the Week. This African American moment is presented by the Angels of Hope, a ministry dedicated to supporting the people, collaborating with the community, and cultivating resources. Today's person is James Earl Jones, 1931 to 2024. Rest in peace. A voice of valor and vision. His commanding cadence, iconic voice, known for his deep, resonant voice, James Earl Jones he was one of the most recognizable voices in entertainment, from the authoritative tones of Darth Vader in Star Wars to the wise Mufasa in The Lion King. His voice has captivated audiences across generations. His acting excellence beyond his voice work, James Earl Jones has demonstrated unparalleled skill on both stage and screen, with performances in The Great White Hope, Fences, and Field of Dreams, Claudine, Coming to America. He has earned critical acclaim, multiple awards, and the respect of his peers as one of the greatest actors of his time. Trailblazing legacy as one of the first African American actors to achieve mainstream success in Hollywood, Jones broke barriers and paved the way for future generations of black actors. His career spanned over 6 decades, has left an indelible mark on American culture and the entertainment industry. Influential mentor. Beyond his work on screen and stage, Jones has been a mentor and inspiration to countless young actors. His dedication to the craft and his willingness to share his knowledge has empowered others to pursue their own dreams in the arts. Through his work, he continues to educate and inspire, leaving a legacy of wisdom and excellence. James Earl Jones was not just an actor, but a cultural icon whose contributions to the arts have shaped the fabric of American entertainment. His voice, talent, and legacy resonate far beyond the screen, influencing and inspiring generations to come. James Earl Jones, rest in peace. Work well done. If you would like to sponsor an African American moment, please reach out to us and contacting us at mybrotherskeepertv@gmail.com. That telephone number is 240-432-5790. Again, you can reach out to us at mybrotherskeepertv@gmail.com. Telephone number again is 240-432-5790. All right, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? The distinguished, the driven, and the dynamic Mr. David Smith is a visionary leader with a versatile voice in his field. From his early days of determination to his current role as a dedicated advocate for innovation, David has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to excellence. A master of motivation, he consistently inspires others through his insightful ideas, impactful initiatives, and indomitable spirit. David's journey has been marked by purposeful perseverance and persistent progress, making him a pivotal figure in every endeavor he undertakes. His ability to harness hope, cultivate creativity, and foster forward-thinking solutions has set him apart as a true trailblazer. Whether he is leading a team, mentoring aspiring professionals, or championing community causes, David's influence is both profound and powerful. A relentless believer in the power of potential, David Smith continues to break barriers, build bridges, and bring bold visions to life. His dedication to delivering dynamic results has not only earned him respect, but also positioned him as a leader who truly embodies excellence. As we welcome Mr. David Smith, let us be prepared to be inspired by his words, moved by his mission, and uplifted by his undeniable drive for greatness. So, ladies and gentlemen, after this commercial break, we'll be right back with none other than Mr. David Smith. Yeah. See you in 2 and 2.
For some people, university is just another series of classrooms. For others, it's about finding purpose and value as you define what will be your life's work. But when you step foot here, in this place, that's when you find your life's work colliding with legacy to produce an educational experience reaching deeper than you ever thought possible. It's more than books, more than classrooms, more than papers or exams. Virginia Union University is a place where you discover the power of a limitless future.
I've had a lot of burgers, but you know what I always come back to? Fuddruckers, my favorite since like forever. They use legit ingredients, and they always let me create my crave. I'm gonna mix it up today. Let's get crazy. Perfect. And the only thing better than how they look is how they taste. Another 100 likes.
In 1933, Jesse Mitchell, his friends and business associates came together to do what only a few black entrepreneurs before them had done: establish a new bank to serve their community. Today, under the leadership of his grandson, B. Doyle Mitchell Jr., Industrial Bank has branches in the District of Columbia, Prince George's County, Maryland, Newark, New Jersey, and Harlem, New York, and remains committed to serving and impacting communities.
When budgets are tight, we keep our communities knit even tighter with every way to save on all the meals you crave all winter long. Giant, this is home.
Smith, welcome, my brother. How you doing, man?
Appreciate you.
Good to have you in the studio, man. Good to have you in the studio. What we're gonna do, man, is just keep it real light, and we're gonna be conversational and flow, and that's what it's about, man. And just bringing much of your testimony and your story. Talk about your story as much as you want to share.
Okay.
And if I'm pushing, then just say, Mike Green, just. Back.
We're gonna ride. We're gonna go with the flow.
We're gonna ride. All right. Welcome, my brother, to the show, and tell the listening audience a little bit about yourself.
So, as already been said, David Smith, product of the area, born and raised and reared, youngest of 6.
Okay.
Educated in the area, Catholic school.
Okay.
But really a product of a single parent. Mm-hmm. Poor or po, depending on your perspective, but really aided by the presence of God every step of the way, and admittedly not knowing that all the way until you look back over across the journey, you realize this is not happenstance.
His hand has always been.
This is an absolute miracle that's been unraveled.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's powerful. Give me 1 second. Just want to give a shout out to Brother Deron Weaver. Thank you so much for tuning in on tonight. Please like and share, and definitely, any comments that you have, definitely don't hesitate to put it out there so we can continue to keep the conversation fluid. Okay. As we've talked offline, but the listening audience, I want to bring them in and bring them into the studio and also have this conversation with them as well. You talk a little bit about the God power that has been guiding your life. Give me a little bit more about that. The God power that was there when you didn't even think it was there. Before you came into that revelation knowledge.
It's funny you asked that question because as I was driving here, I'm thinking about who I am. Hebrews says, since we are covered by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us run with patience the race.
He get ready to start something up in here, ladies and gentlemen. He's getting ready to start something up in here. Go ahead, brother.
But my mama, single parent.
Yes, sir.
Oldest of 15. Taken out of school at 13.
Ooh.
Right? Married my dad. Love him dearly, but he was an alcoholic. And challenged with raising 6 children of her own, not having finances, not having a job, but yet most of my siblings and I are college educated, college degree professionals. And again, Mama didn't have a lot of money, didn't have a lot of ingenuity, but she had God. And she instilled in us the importance of hard work, the importance of devotion and dedication to a mission that was greater than the individual. And subsequently, as I live and as I thrive, I recognize that my goal and aim is not to build a kingdom to myself, but to pull and bring as many people as I can along the way, enlighten them through classical ministry, as we call it, pulpit ministry. But yet there are other things that we've got to do. I recognize I had a professor in seminary who argued, we pray for folk too much in the church, and they go home and they can't eat, or they're miseducated, or they have all kinds of addictions and things that are pulling at them or pulling them away, and yet we want to pray for them and send them back to the mess they came from. I believe that my life is indicative of the fact that God brought me from somewhere to a place to do something that's greater and bigger than I am.
Yes, sir. This is getting hot up in here, Doc. It's getting hot. It's good that you talk about that process. many times we want the promise, or we want that end result, but we don't want to be developed in the process to achieve the promise.
Absolutely.
You know, you talk about a single mother. Speak to a single mother today raising 6 children. I understand that the times are different, but the resilience of your mother, that stick-to-itiveness and the God that your mom served, and how he illuminated the path. Speak to the space of a single mother that needs some encouragement tonight, that may be tuned in.
I'm here tonight because of Shirley Louise Smith, my mom.
All right.
And everything I do is because of her. So I would tell that single parent that's struggling, that's striving, trying to figure it out, don't give up. Recognize and realize who you are. I would tell...
Look right in there, Doc. Look right in that camera.
I would tell that single mother that your location doesn't determine your destination. And you might be in a fix. You might be in a place that is seemingly working towards your demise. But even in the midst of turmoil and calamity, God has the ability to transform situations and circumstances around. Trust, believe, and never doubt. And I can also say that God uses adversity to bring out the best in us.
He saw the best in me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But it's amazing because in our communities, for whatever reason, our father was there sometimes, and maybe he was there, he wasn't, but Mama was always the constant to keep that needle going and threading as we go. And she's always threading by covering us as we were sent forth into a world to become, because they always spoke destiny to us. And I even have that similar testimony of my mother pushing and in spite of. And she's the one who gave me my first bow tie. And so, this is about 7 years old. And so many people thought I started wearing bow ties around 35, 40, but no, about 7 years old. But yet still, she saw and spoke into my destiny and was preparing me for where I was going. And so they was the big ones. And I used to always wonder, why do I have this on? Or why you dressing me like? And so the kids would look and they would laugh at times, but as I got older, I began to understand, the concept of what she was doing. I'm dressing and preparing you for where you're going.
I get it.
So again, hats off to mothers in our communities, inner cities, because again, they're pushing and again, threading that needle and covering us. Even seen and unseen dangers. And so, I applaud mothers, your mother, my mother, our mothers, because this has what Langston Hughes' poem, "Life ain't been no crystal stay."
Absolutely.
Come on, Doc. Come on. Okay, so what drives you? What would that drive? What drive you in the pursuit of excellence, even in the face of adversity?
Again, legacy. I'm standing on the shoulders of my ancestors. And how dare me to take advantage of their efforts? How dare me to take advantage of their sacrifices and not create a footprint for this next generation that's coming along? So I'm driven by the reality that somebody made a way for me when I didn't even realize a way was being made.
Come on, Doc.
And I have the incredible responsibility of doing the same, somehow figuring out a way to make it easier, not just for folk that I call my family, but my community. How do we leave a footprint in this community that tells an individual, even in a hopeless situation, that they can hope in something that they have not seen?
Yes. That's some good stuff there, man. That legacy. But even overcoming the adversities, and I mean that, and you talked about the cloud of witnesses, and to know that our ancestors that's that encouragement that's speaking. And sometimes even we've been taught that that's spooky, but every other generation honor their ancestors by pouring libation out for them. And sometimes in a space of like in the hood, and we used to be around and we'll pour something out for the brothers that no longer here. That's libation being poured out. In our own way, we were celebrating and honoring those who had gone on before us equally as well. So, I mean, just that encouragement alone to know that somebody spoke up, somebody stood up, somebody got up for us and said, no, I'm going to push a little bit more because somebody is coming right after me. And they need to see, where there is a way, where there wasn't a way. And so that's what I know I owe, that I have to continue to make a way.
Most definitely.
So I definitely applaud, you're sharing that piece right there, man, because again, we need that.
Yeah.
We need that. So other than your mother, who has been that integral person that has spoken, name some of your mentors.
I have a village. My dad was absent often. I had grandparents. I had an aunt that poured into me. I remember my grandmother saying, and I hope she's right on this. She says, "Boy, if you don't tuck your shirt in, you're gonna have a problem." And then she would go on to say things like, "You walking around with your shirt untucked, you either gonna be rich or you gonna be a preacher." She was planting things inside of me, and there were seeds that were growing inside of me that I didn't even realize that were happening. I don't know if it was always intentional, but these are things that were happening. So I had grandparents. I had an aunt. I'm a product of a local church. And even though my father was absent and in many respects was not the ideal father, there were men in the church that mentored me, that taught me how to stand up and be a stand-up gentleman, that showed me things that I would not have learned in other places. My mother was intuitive enough to know that there were things that she could not do as a woman. And I would make this argument that we do have a problem with absent fathers in our community, but the lack of a biological father does not mean that you can't find somebody to mentor, to be that bridge. I'm a product of Boy Scouts. I learned how to tie a tie. In Boys, my mama couldn't tell me how to tie a tie. She took me someplace to learn how to tie a tie. So there are things that might be artificial. They may seem inorganic, but I'm a product of a village, a village of people that have poured into me and given me the opportunity to pursue a level of success that I would not have been able to obtain without their help and assistance.
Wow. It's amazing because we share a lot of, our story is almost similar. I'm a product of the village. And so what my mom used to do, I learned how to tie a bow tie and a necktie. I don't know if you remember the store Cavaliers.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
the one out in Eastover, in East Maryland and Oxon Hill, Maryland. And so what she used to do is take me, drop me off at Eastover, and then it was these group of guys, but they knew because I'd been going in there with my mom pretty much like since I was young, and so as she was preparing, and then she decided to back up, and she would drop me off, and then she would go do her thing. Unbeknownst to me, she had already had a conversation with them on what she intended to buy for me. But she let it be my choice. I didn't find this out till sometime later that but they were steering me to what her desire for me was. And because again, 9 times out of 10, what she would have picked, I would not have liked, because that's that kickback of that woman and that young man coming into that madness. But she put me in a village of men that gathered around and say, "You would look nice in this. This is what you need. This is what would flow." And so and I would go along with it. But like I say, years later, I found out that she had already pre-selected, they encouraged the selection. And so question. Therefore it's like, wow. It's like, wow, the village really came in and they supported and pushed and prepared. And it's amazing because we need to continue to foster that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, we need it.
To foster that so that, we have a lot of single mothers out. And so now we're in a time where, like, there's lack of trust.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so, but there is that Boy Scout. I didn't do the Boy Scout thing, but there were church men that again, village.
Yeah.
Village. It's like everywhere I went, and that's a blessing in my life that I always had villages of men that when I went to school, my principal took me under his wing. And even when I was working that first job at a movie theater, and it's crazy, but and I thought I was making money, and I was like, well, and so my grades started to slip, and I was like, well, I'll just leave school.
Yeah.
And then I got mad, and I challenged the teacher, and I was like, I'm gone, I'm out of here, I got a job, and not knowing, not thinking past my nose, and just thinking I could go out and do, and then I walked out, and in my mind I was done, but before I got to the store up in Georgetown, a movie theater, KD Cerebus off of Wisconsin Avenue, my principal was right there.
Wow.
In front of the movie theater before I went in.
Yeah.
And he said, listen here.
Yeah.
That's not it.
Yeah.
That's not it. We expect more.
Got it.
I spoke to your mother. In fact, when I went to your home, your sister was there, and I spoke to your family, and we all agreed that this is not your ending.
Yeah. I get it. Defining moments, right? Yeah.
Somebody cared.
Yeah. And the reality is, we don't even understand what the small things, the impact that it has on the lives of people. But just demonstrating to somebody that you care.
Wow.
There's a statement that, again, seminary, we would make this statement: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Absolutely.
And one of the things and elements that we're missing in our community is the reality is that we are tied to each other. There ought to be something that binds us together. Whether you're black, blue, white, green, or yellow, you're a human being. And somehow or another, the demonstration of love from me to you is the bare minimum.
Wow.
And if we can't do that, we aren't people of God.
The bare minimum.
Yeah, we're not people of God.
Yeah. I just graduated 26 young adults in this initiative that I provide for the DC government over in Southeast. And it was it was awesome. Because as I was sharing information, again, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
So I had to connect them in real life, in real time, that I care about, well, what's making you late?
Yeah.
What's going on, before you get here, and and just dealing with the attitude of affirmations and just tapping into that space, and then that broke ice, and I was able to go in, and then I was able to share with them, some most important principles of life, and so in building relationship, because I'm a proponent of that 3-pronged process of mentor, model, multiply.
Absolutely.
And so mentoring is about relationship. And if we can't get the relationship, we're in bad shape. And so I go back to say all of that to say that even with my principal and the villages that were available to me, this is why I believe and know I'm doing what I'm doing even today, because I know what it is to be lost. I know what it is to be looking for that male mentorship, because again, people are lost.
Oh yeah, without question.
And at times, if you kind of get them too late, they kind of resist and resent because they can't relate, and then that makes our job much harder. But as long as we stay in there and we use that word empathy and put ourselves in that place when we was that age, I think we can begin to really bridge that gap.
Most definitely, without question. And it isn't a shame that we have people who show up day in and day out, looking good, smelling good, and purportedly feeling good. But the reality is, we don't know where they came from yesterday or the day before. And even though they put on this facade, there are so many things that are unraveling in their lives. And I think that that caring, building relationships, building bridges, gives you the opportunity not just to fix you up, but to really deal with those things that are inside of you, so that we are transformed and become transformative. You know, one of the issues and concerns I have with who we are as people, we spend too much time fixing ourselves up and not enough time dealing with who we are.
Yes, sir.
And more importantly, taking the time to figure out where we're going. And we're never going to get there until we deal with who we are today.
Well, what is some of the aspects, or what is some of the ways that you begin to come into a knowledge of who you are? Can you share with us some of the aspects of what it took to get you to a place of, just revelation or revelatory moments, or those defining moments?
Yeah. I think that everybody needs to invest some time in themselves. Spend some time with you. You know, we spend so much time chasing dreams and chasing after things that really don't add any value to us. And then when we attain and acquire these things, it does not give us the sense of satisfaction that we want. I'm going to mess this up, but I heard Dr. Boyce Watkins talk about the fact that we buy name brand stuff.
Y'all kind of favor each other. That's a joke. Joking, bro.
But he argued we buy things for a feeling, and when we get them, it doesn't necessarily give us what we want. And I think we need to spend some time with ourselves.
I think
who are we?
I think when we do that, we see the S series or the S class Benzes and Infinities, all these high priced cars in the hood, and and the Jordans on little kids that that we just discard because they're not even finished growing, but we still buy them. But they're symbols. We are attached to symbols, and when we buy these symbols, it's like, look, I've made it. Look, I've arrived. But yet still, we don't even have insurance policies, because if something should happen before the children, it's a GoFundMe account, or because we're not handling our business, we're not building generational wealth, because we rather invest in the symbol of 22-inch rims and these other things. You see what I'm saying?
Without question.
I think that, to your point, it's like we have our sights in the wrong places.
Oh yeah, without question. I think it was the song that rings in my head: Gator boots, wearing Gucci shoes, ain't got no job, but I'm still fly. Got a quarter tank of gas in my new E-Class, but that's okay.
But I still look good.
Yeah, because I'm still fly. And that mantra is who we are. We don't own anything. We have symbols of wealth, but we don't really have wealth. And when we start acquiring wealth, we're able to build schools. We're able to build institutions. We can send our children to school and not have to have GoFundMes or sell chicken dinners.
Absolutely.
We can really begin to start talking about laying that foundation, building a blueprint, and doing things. It's amazing that people did more with less than we do with much more. And we've got to wake ourselves up. One old preacher, Dr. Charles Gilchrist Adams. He's dead and gone. Heard him preach maybe 10 or 15 years ago. He talked about Noah being drunk. And his argument was God wanted to build the earth and restore the earth through him. But on the day of reconstruction, he was drunk. And isn't it a shame that God wants to empower us to do things that we have not even seen. You know, the text is true. Eye hasn't seen, ear hasn't heard, neither has it entered into the hearts of men what God has in store for us. But we're drunk, we're intoxicated with notions of being rich, but don't understand what wealth is.
And as you state right there, it's like we go on to the result of it, but we forget the process, not knowing that the value is in the process. The value is in the process, and so when we understand the value, then the wealth will chase the value, and not vice versa. So when I understand the value, I'm able to disciple and duplicate the process.
Yeah.
That's like saying, okay, I'm down with, okay, God, deliver me. I don't want to be developed. I want to be delivered.
Yeah.
But I can't disciple if I'm just delivered. Because, see, now I come into a place in my maturity to say that, okay, demons, you get deliverance.
Yeah.
You're delivered from the demons,
Yeah.
but therapy deal with the damage.
Most definitely. And to your point, if we are something, and I know I am something, I ain't got to convince nobody what I am, because I know within myself. If I am delivered, if I'm rich, if I'm wealthy.
Where does that stigma come from? Where I got to prove everything?
I think that psychologically, there are some things that have been passed on to us from one generation to another. I told you I'm a product of a single dad. You know, there are things within. I was going to say something that might sound strange, but it's not. There are things as a man that I'm figuring out. As a man, because my daddy never demonstrated to.
Yes, sir.
Now I'm a man 100%. But how does a man react positively in all situations and circumstances? I didn't have anybody to demonstrate that to me. And I find that a lot of us similarly have these deficits, these issues and concerns, these gaps in understanding, because not only have we been disconnected to our ancestors, but we're also disconnected to God. And if we're going to ever figure out who we are, whose we are, and where we're going, we got to reconnect to the source.
Come on, Doc.
And if there's a disconnect,
yes, sir,
you're going to always try to fill a gap with something that that was never intended to be there in the first place.
And to your point, and I think that is so important to know, but once we are able to connect the dots, we have to get into a place, to me, where I got in the presence, because I didn't understand the love of me until I understood the love of him, which is God.
Oh, yeah.
And so therefore, in that place of his presence,
oh, yeah,
it was a renewing and a refreshing and a restoration.
Oh, yeah.
And so understanding even from that space, coming into a love of myself.
Oh yeah.
And I would dare to say that you can't love truly anyone until you love yourself.
Absolutely.
And goes back to your earlier point with spending time with yourself.
Yeah.
You got to know who you are.
And be confident in it.
And be confident. And so even in a space, and some people, they say, well, you're arrogant, or you change, or you're different. Well, you're supposed to evolve in your life. You're supposed to be different in your life. You're supposed to aspire to be greater than what you were yesterday, last week, last month, last year. Because if you're not, something is wrong.
Yeah, what's that question? I'm not going to apologize no more for being excellent or being different. And in my own skin, because I grew up in an environment where I was different from everybody. I was bigger.
Yes, sir.
My nose is wide. My skin was dark.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to look like other people.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to be like my other brothers and sisters, if you know what I mean. Until I realized who I was. And when I came into myself, I realized I don't have to apologize for being big, bold, and beautiful all by myself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All by yourself.
Absolutely.
Ain't no problem.
Yes.
You know, and you get in that place of understanding that when you come into a knowledge of who you are, you begin to celebrate the difference of who you are, the uniqueness of how God made you.
Fearfully and wonderfully made.
There's not another like you on this earth. They may resemble or have a look, but there's not. They're not exactly the same. No other person has your fingerprint.
Yes, sir.
And that's the uniqueness of the difference. And we got to appreciate that. And so where do you think that comes from, the appreciation of the uniqueness of our differences?
So I'll tell you something interesting. I went to a church that was different.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember as a young teen having classes about the texture of our hair in church. And the lack thereof in this instance. But as a young child developing, we talked about the differences that separated us. And I can celebrate somebody that's blonde and blue-eyed, but you sure enough better celebrate me.
Come on.
I mean, so I think that having a knowledge of who you are and where you are in this ecosystem develops a natural appreciation. We spend too much time augmenting what God has already said is good.
Is good.
And if God says it's good, how are you going to improve it?
That settles it. And it's no way that you could come back and curse it. And because, see, when I came into a knowledge, because even growing up, I was always the dark. I'm the youngest of five, but I was the darker, and so I struggled with that. And so because they were like, you know what, you don't belong. And so it was like, no, I do belong. And so it was, and kids can be cruel. And so we could be cruel. And so they told me that this other man was my father.
I got it.
And so I was like, but then I had to get into a place where I couldn't even embrace U.S. history. And then another village, Brother Kali Hill, African-American history teacher, saw that I was struggling in U.S. history. And so the teachers would have this meeting, and he said, bring him to my class. I'll take him from here. And then he'll go back to deal with U.S. history. I excelled in U.S. history because I began to understand, and they began to talk about me and who I was, and about, the accomplishments of people who look like me. And then I excelled. And then they took me back. I had to go back the next semester in U.S. history. Flying colors.
Without question.
Declaration of Independence, the preamble, how a bill becomes, along with watching Schoolhouse Rock.
Without question. Without question.
I got it because I got me. I understood where I was and where I was supposed to be. And so a lot of times, can you imagine today, many of our young people are angry because they are displaced?
Without question. Without question.
And they don't understand why they're angry. So that's why I take a brother like myself and you to say, listen, this is what I see that could very well be a challenge. Let's start right here of a self-knowledge of who we are.
I'm with you. And in our founding documents, it was written and etched in history that we were 3/5 of an individual. We weren't even a whole person all by ourselves. We needed multiple of us to make a whole human being. That foundation has rooted in our lives and in our culture. We got brothers running the street that don't realize that they are sufficient all by themselves. Wake up. Realize who you are. We have passed that on from one generation. You are less than and lower than an individual. We got to shake ourselves up and wake ourselves up and realize that we were created and destined for greatness.
I'm not justifying it, but just like passed through succession, fear is passed on. The things that have been done has been passed on through the slave quarters and the beating and the whippings and the fear, taking the strongest and the strongest male slave and just an inch of his life being beat. And so therefore a fear, our women, the fear was set in them, and fear set in us as men. And so therefore it's like it's passed on. So again, success, there's no true success without succession. So there's fear that have been passed on because of an unknowingness of what has been already done to us. So how do you speak to that? How do you eradicate the fear place?
I think we got to change our mind. I use this analogy oftentimes. Many years ago, I had an iPhone and I jailbroke it. And I was able to download all of the things that I wanted for free. The problem was I downloaded something that contaminated my operating system. So I called Apple, and I was very careful because I didn't want to tell them I did something I shouldn't have done. I was operating outside the grace, if you would. And the operator, the customer service person that was helping me said, it seems like you have something on your operating system that has contaminated it. And in order to fix it, you've got to delete everything off of your phone and rebuild the operating system. Then you can go and add the appropriate applications that you desire. I've found that many of us have been contaminated by the downloads that we have taken on across the four corners of our lives. And some of the downloads, we didn't even do it ourselves. We've had our parents or our grandparents or somebody close to us that gave us a download, and we accept that as being authentic, true, a fact. We've got to begin to go back to some basics. We got to delete some stuff and then rebuild some things. You know, the problem in our community today is that we have people who don't believe they can. And when you don't believe you can, there is nothing you're going to do until you can convince yourself that you can do a thing that has not been done before or been done by somebody who doesn't look like you. So I think we've got to begin to retrain our mind. I believe that's why the Bible says, I beseech you therefore, brothers, by the mercy of God, to present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God. And then it goes on to say, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Somehow we got to refresh our mind. We got to change the program because again,
we need an update.
Yeah.
We need that update.
Yeah. My sister and I, we were having this argument today, and but she argued very intuitively. She says, when God created us in our image, God didn't make us black so that we can look like God. And I said, you're absolutely right, because God is a spirit. So what you see is not necessarily what God intends for me to be. Understand who you are beyond all of these superficial things. And many of us are in tune to this kind of thing, the flesh. But we're not really in tune to our mind, our spirit, and our heart. So somehow or another, we got to begin to start reasoning and rationalizing with what God wants us to be, and stop trying to fix it up, make it what it's supposed to be by the renewing of our mind.
Just flow into that God space of understanding that we are who we are, and as God continue to give us the revelation to move in the beauty in which He has created us, fearfully and wonderfully made, as you alluded to earlier, and accept who we are as who we are. But that stigma of those things that come in, and we get a dose of it every time we turn on the television. So therefore, we have to be very careful and really unapologetically teach our young children to what they're watching. And so the heroes that they begin to gravitate toward, it's a positive heroes that, and so even if it doesn't look like them, but they can identify what it is that they are gravitating to in spite of what they look like, and if it's wholesome. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, without question.
Because again, I'm in a place now, man, where it's like a lot of the rappers and a lot of the music and, you know, of what's been going on.
Destroying.
It's destroying.
Yeah,
and it's the industry and the mediums in which we allow to infiltrate our lives, and it's controlling us, man, and it's killing generations beyond generations. Oh, I just like the rhythm. I just like the music. But no, there's a melody. There's a spirit that is seeped in there. And it's a medium. And it's a medium that is seeped in, and it goes right in, and it hits right here in that spirit, your subconscious, and it contaminates, because that's what speaks to you know, the consciousness,
without question,
you know, the higher mind. And so it's like, wait a minute.
And it's working for its intended purpose. The origins of gangster rap argue that they wanted the most profane, vile music because they wanted to plant and supplant within the minds of the listeners thoughts and notions that denigrated them, lowered them, and put them beneath the standard. And it's working.
Man,
it's working.
What you say? It's been working, and it is working. And I think that I was hearing a few of the other seasoned and conscious rappers really being vocal in this hour, and they're sounding the alarm. I think I heard Ice Cube, and then so he was like really saying that, dealing with Viacom and the other companies that are not of our hue, and so therefore it's like they're grabbing these other young guys, and this is what you're going to sing, this is what you're going to be speaking. And so therefore, even with I think young lady Sexy Red, and just the stuff that's being projected from them, it's like it's killing the young ladies in the mind. And they're not even in a place, man, where it's like their minds have developed, because the full mind develops at about 25, and these are like 16, 17, 20, and so their minds haven't even been formed, but yet still it's being told to the weed and the drinking and the lean and just all these things, ingesting all these things to slow down the mental progress, and it's like, wow. And we see a generation being just killed. It's sad. It's sad, and it hurts my heart. Because they can't hear. They lose the ability to hear.
Without question. Good friend of mine says, be careful when the abnormal becomes normal and the normal becomes abnormal. They flip the script on us.
And that's what it is.
They flip the script.
When dysfunction becomes the norm.
That's where we are.
When dysfunction becomes the norm. So I think that even coming from a place being real and saying, hey, wait a minute, this is right here. This is what needs to be done. And start structuring, and I'm going for the jugular. And it's like, playtime is over. And so I can't sit back and play pity pat with you when your life is at stake. I can't play games with you when your life is at stake. Because you got a legacy. Somebody's counting on you. Because again, somebody's that gave me, the essence of the village. They knew that I needed, and then they're gone. So they said they need to deposit. So they said they're not going to die empty. They're going to pour in. And they're going to die empty. They're not going to die with their potential. So they put it in me. And so I'm God thankful. So it's like I feel the same way. But it's like getting them in tune, getting them in that space. And I find that walking with them, and like I said, getting in the space where showing them that we do care, and then they begin to care about what it is that we have to give them.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And I believe that's where we're failing.
Wow.
As a faith community, I think Mark 9 is an awesome, incredible example of that. That man brings his son to the disciples because they were with Jesus. And his expectation was that they could do the same things Jesus did. And he said, I brought my son to your disciples because he has a spirit in him that often throws him into the water and to fire and the fire to kill him. But if you can do anything, save him. And Jesus said, it's not whether or not I can do it. The question becomes, can you believe?
Can you believe
that this is possible? But here's the interesting piece. That the church, this boy was dying. This boy was throwing himself in the water and fire, self-professed by the daddy. But the church was arguing with itself in the midst of this boy dying. And that's who we are today in 2024. We're arguing with ourselves about sizes, about who's going to get a particular honorarium, where we going to sit and who's going to do these kinds of things that don't even matter in the economy of God, and the people in our communities are dying.
My Gators and what suit them up. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Lord, help my unbelief. Help my unbelief. Get me, God, in a place. Forgive me for my unbelief. But I recognize my unbelief. But forgive me now, God, for my unbelief. So that I can be effective in a space where I can remove myself from the honorariums and those things that don't matter, so that I can see the need of the people.
And I'm not even diminishing those things, but we got to put those things in their proper perspective.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not mad at what honorariums this person gets of that, but when that becomes the primary thing, and doing the work is secondary. We've put all of these things in front of the mission, and we've missed the ultimate goal that God has called us to do, and that is to be effective in the communities where God has planted us.
And what we don't manage, we lose. Whatever we mismanage, we lose. So God help us to manage so that we're able to be effective in that work He's called us to do.
Absolutely.
Man, this has been very powerful, brother. And I haven't even really got to any of the questions, man, that I really wanted to really ask you. So in your profession, what is your profession? Tell the people what your profession is.
Yeah, so I would say in addition to preaching, teaching, and running a church professionally, I'm like Paul, I build tents. In my profession day to day, I work in the area of financial planning, which is an extension of my ministry, helping people understand strategies, options that they have available to them to build and create the legacies that are before them. I believe that information is power.
Yes, sir.
And many of us are unempowered and impotent in the area of our finances because we lack information.
Yeah. As you talk about financial planning, and I would like to bring you back in that space, because I mean, we just went on into a different space.
I get it.
And I think it was warranted.
Yeah.
I think it was good that we discuss and we wrestle with, the elephant in the room, and we have to put it to rest.
Yeah.
So even as I know that I would like to have you back, to really talk about the financial piece, because again, our people are dying for the lack of knowledge.
Oh yeah, without question.
So we need to know what money and how money works for us, and what we can do. Jewish community, they talk about the Asian community almost 20, 21, 22 times, and then the Jewish community 19 times, the white community 12 times, and then they got, the dollar circulates in their community, 12 days, and then I think 22 days for the Asian community, 19 days for, you know what I'm saying? It circulates the amount of days, but it only lasts 6 hours in the black community. And so that's a lack of knowledge. And so when we have a lack of knowledge, we don't understand how to empower our community, because we frivolously give away our power. And so I would like to bring you back in a space where we can talk about financial planning, how to move and work in investing our money in good places, so that, it can be, it can stay more than 6 hours.
Most definitely.
To start off, it can stay longer than 6 hours. And if we can get a day out of it, and then, then we can work on 2 days, 3 days, you know what I'm saying? Because again, it's nothing that we haven't done already, because the Black Wall Street, that was over 12 times, again, we set that. We started a lot of that because of the universities, the libraries, the movie theaters, the bus systems, cabs, all of those things. We had that dollar it circulated. And they were upset because that dollar got locked in the Black Wall Street. It didn't leave out. And so that was a hard piece for them to. Why no money coming from that community? Because we're utilizing it, and we're paying ourselves, and we're utilizing it till we can't utilize it no more. And only then when we release it is because, everybody has had it and it empowered already. So boom, we'll use it and sparingly, but then it comes to us. So
I would say this, and this is just ringing in my head. I was talking to a individual some years ago, and I was expressing the frustration of just trying to convince people who look like me that we are capable. We can do similar to our white brothers and sisters. And this gentleman, and it hurt me. It broke me. This brother said, David, you got to realize that the white man's ice is colder. And when I realized that and really understood what he was saying, it almost brought me to tears. And I tell myself oftentimes that the white man's ice is cold. And that's not to denigrate any other culture or community. But I think we've got to understand, in order to recycle those dollars, we've got resources within our community. And before we go out, we got to stay within. We've got to make some investments in folks who look like us. And the reality is, we are just as capable. We are just as good. And we can do and produce the same outcomes, but we've got to build some lasting, trusting relationships, work together collaboratively, and then we can build and recycle those dollars. Because the truth of the matter is, when those dollars leave our community, when our babies need to go to school, those communities are not going to necessarily come and provide scholarships.
I find that we oftentimes we go back and we beg them for money and to sow back into when that should be an automatic thing. We should not have to ask them, because if you're doing business with us, that's something that should already be streamlined. You remember the movie Django?
Yeah.
And so there was a front that what was it? Samuel Jackson played. He played the surly Uncle Thomas. Well, not Uncle Thomas, but the Sambo-ish. And so it was like in front of the people. But when he was not in front of the people, he ran the operation because he sat there with his glass of cognac and legs crossed and putting the owner, which was the master, on game on what was going on and what was happening. Because again, he would leave the plantation and go out, do whatever he did, and come back, and then Samuel Jackson would give him a report. And so, but to my point, he was sitting in the library and he was, shaking up the cognac at room temperature and giving him game on what was going on and how they was running game on him. And so again, white ice is colder. We believe that, so therefore we feed into that program. And so we buy into it. So therefore it's like, okay, I can't do nothing with the program. Let me go ahead and just get what I can get out of it and make it work for me. But not knowing that you're leaving a race, a generation in bondage.
Stinking thinking.
Because you can get ahead. You're going to leave everybody else behind because you want it better. You know what I'm saying? Because you found out that Django was going to sleep on the good sheets in the bed in the house. And you really didn't have that because you got to save face. But, it's amazing, man, that white ice piece, man. But I think we can get past that. But it's been as a place of us being conditioned.
We got to.
We've been conditioned to believe and to think. And I think socially engineered. So again, we have to break that thing down.
And it gets back to the notion, understanding who we are, unraveling those notions, and realizing that I don't have to tear you down in order to build myself up. I can build you up and still be myself in all of my
I don't lose my flame because I light yours.
Absolutely.
We can both shine bright. So, all right, brother, let's get ready to wrap this up. Producer just came in and gave me the sign. So is there anything you want to leave with the audience tonight concerning our conversation about unity in the community, and there's no difference in the ice, and loving one another in the community and the village? Is there anything that you want to leave, a lasting thought you want to leave with the audience?
I would just, this thought came to mind when Moses asked God, you've given me these people. How do I help them and assist them in their transition from slavery to this land of milk and honey? He says, I ain't got the resources to make this happen. And God said, what's in your hand? And I would tell everybody who's listening that there are some things in your hand, some resources that you have that you've overlooked, and you don't even understand the value of what you have in your hand. God has given you something that you can work and use,
in your hand,
not only to bring about positive outcomes in your own life, but to help those around you. So spend some time with yourself, asking God, what have you given me? What tools have you given me that I can work so that I can bring about positive change in the community?
What's in your hand? And I don't care if it's a stick and a stutter. It's in your hand.
You can make it work.
You can make it work. He did. God made it work with him because he availed himself and what was in his hand, and God gave him more than what he needed. Hey, man, that's all right. That's all right. Thank you, brother, so much,
I appreciate
man.
the time.
And again, man, I got to get you back, man,
Let's do it.
sooner than later, so we can deal and unpack that financial piece,
do it.
man. The people need it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again, brother, for trusting me with your story and with you.
Well, I appreciate the conversation. It's been enriching.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as our time ends, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude for you joining us today. Remember, the journey to greatness is not a solo endeavor, but one shared with those who uplift and inspire us. Surround yourself with people whose eyes light up when they see you. Remember that progress is often achieved through steady perseverance. And lastly, the top of one mountain is the bottom of the next. Wow. So keep climbing. Tune in next week for another electrifying episode of My Brother's Keeper every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on WBGR TV. I'm Pastor Michael Green. Have a winning week, everyone. God bless you.
Yes, I'm talking to you with all that melanin popping. Listen, I know there are a lot of misconceptions out there about ancestry tests, and we'd like you to get to know us. We're African Ancestry, and we are the only ancestry company designed by Black people, for Black people. The only ancestry company that can provide the actual African country of origin and ethnic group. Founded in 2003 by Dr. Rick Kittles.
Hello.
And Dr. Gina Page.
Hi there.
With over 30,000 samples, African Ancestry has the largest and most comprehensive database of DNA of African lineages. I'm talking Yoruba, Ashanti, Mende, Fong, and more. Oh, they can't do it, they can't do it, and they can't do it. Sure, they can tell you you're from Africa. Africa. The 54 countries that make up 11,677,239 square miles of one of the Earth's largest continents, Africa. Africa. But if others can know that they're from Ireland, England, Spain, or Sweden, shouldn't you be able to trace your roots to a specific country and tribe? Shouldn't you be able to connect to the beliefs, practices, and customs of your people? How powerful would that be? And unlike those guys, African Ancestry never researches, sells, or shares your DNA. We destroy it. In other words, we're only using your DNA to tell you where you're from, and we won't tell anyone else about you either. I see you thinking over there. To find your tribe and discover who you truly are, take the right test. Go to AfricanAncestry.com.